Here we go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the WSU Food Systems Hub call for November 13th, Friday the 13th. And we are really pleased today to have the WSU School of Food Science with us. My name is Laura Lewis. I'm the director of the WSU Food Systems program, and I'm joined today by Nicole Witham, our statewide coordinator, Abba Kaiser, our project manager, and Tia Taylor, our office coordinator, as well as many WSU Food Systems team members. We're going to have an overview of the WSU Food Systems Hub, some updates on some of the programs that are ongoing right now, and then we're going to hear from Dr. Girish Ganjyal, the Interim Director and Associate Professor of Extension and a food processing specialist. And he's going to update us about the school and the many extension, food processing, and safety training programs and services that are currently being offered. And then we'll have time to share. I just want to welcome everyone. Please introduce yourself in the Zoom chat box. Let us know who you are, where you're located, what you do. Please also use the chat box to ask questions and share information about upcoming programs, events, webinars, anything that you think would be useful to this group, and things that we can also update onto the Hub website. So a little bit about the WSU Food Systems program. We're a little over 3 years old now. We evolved out of the small farms team. We still have a very strong focus on small farms and production systems. We seek to work with communities throughout the state to foster viable farm businesses, optimize sustainable natural resource stewardship, and to promote scaled processing and distribution, always in the pursuit of access to healthy food for all. You can see our 7 focus areas on the side there, and that is how we sort of arrange the work that we do across the Washington food system. The WSU Food Systems team is comprised of over 80 professionals working across the food system, both internal to WSU and our external partners. And we really work across academic research and extension programs to provide educational opportunities for farm and food system stakeholders throughout the state. So a little bit about the WSU Food Systems Hub. We originally started this back in March as a place to convene and provide resources and updates about COVID. And just like the food systems program itself, we've sort of evolved out of just focusing on COVID into really digging into resources and programs to support Washingtonians and our food system in general. And we will be kind of revising our hub over the next couple of weeks as well, just to reflect our 7 focus areas as we kind of move into this new realm, as we're still dealing with COVID, but also looking into the future in terms of how we do our programming and arrange our resources. So we're really excited to be providing some of these updates. Just a reminder to look at the WSU Food Systems calendar of events. It's updated pretty much daily, and we have great resources there from both WSU folks as well as those working across the state, across the nation, as well as across the world. So look at that. If you have resources that you want to share, please send them on to us, and we'll go ahead and post them on our website. And I wanted to give a shout out to the Eat Local First Collaborative. I know some of you are on the call today. This Washington Food and Farm Finder was launched last week, and we're just really excited about it. There's a great holiday campaign that you can participate in. And for those of you who might not have seen some of the previous calls about this project, there was a group of several collaborators coming together across the state. In particular, Tilt Alliance, Sustainable Connections, WSU Food Systems Program, the Eat Local First Collaborative out on the Olympic Peninsula, Pierce is it Pierce Fresh? I'm trying to think if I left anyone out. There's anyone on the call?
Trust.
There we go. There we go. So we came together and worked to combine several of our both regional and statewide databases to provide a statewide resource to find local farms and food businesses across the state of Washington. So our WSU Food Finder is going to sort of be hidden away in the background, archived, and we're happy that the postings that we had that were active on our Farm Finder are now here with this Eat Local First Collaborative Washington Food and Farm Finder. So please check it out and promote the holiday campaign as well. I also wanted to just remind everyone about the Meat Processor Pandemic Relief Grants. Those are still open until the 16th. And so there's a few more days left to get those applications in. If you need technical assistance, please reach out to the WA Meetup technical assistance team. If you need specific support to submit your application, please reach out to the WSDA. And I just want to remind everyone, again, November 16th is the deadline for submitting those relief grants. So I am so excited today to welcome Girish to our hub call. He's been such a champion of the food systems program for several years. He was a steering committee member for many years on both the small farms team and the food systems program. The work that he does is just innovative and phenomenal for Washingtonians. And we're just really excited to have him here today and talk about the work that he's doing, as well as his new role as Interim Director of the School of Food Science. So welcome, Girish.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Nicole. And thanks, everyone. I mean, I always enjoy talking in the extension setting. I love it. I see it as this is where the rubber meets the road. All right. So today, my intention, I guess, for the next few minutes is to give you a quick update on the School of Food Science, and then spend some time specifically in the extension portion of it, like what are the different services that we offer, what are the different programs we have within the area of the food safety and food processing extension. So that's what I'll focus more. But in the beginning, I'll tell you about the School of Food Science, because we have gone through a lot of changes in the last few months, and it has been quite a ride. And I was asked to take on the leadership role for the school as an interim director, and I took that on back in February this year. And I just can't ask for a better real life simulation of how things can get tough and how we can ride through this. So with that, I would like to start with sharing my screen, and I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'll walk through. Okay, let me see if I can share this. Looks like I can. All right, you should see a blank screen. Are you seeing a blank screen? Okay, awesome. All right, you should see the PowerPoint now. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to walk through. This is kind of what I have as my outline for today. I'll give you a quick overview of food science, just so folks kind of get an idea of what we have, what we look at as a food science, and then go into a little bit of school overview. There's quite a bit of history there, and that's what I want to show you a little bit. And then jump into where we are, what are our current programs and current strengths in the school, and then go into the extension portion of it. Okay, so briefly, in food science, what do we deal with? We pretty much deal with anything that happens after the crop is harvested, whatever kind of crop it is, but once it's harvested, and then taking it from that point to bringing it to the table or the plate. Those are the things that we do in food science. I always joke when personally, I don't know about how to grow in the field a crop, but I know a little bit about how to take it further after it's harvested. So that's kind of what we do in food science. And then what we do is one of the biggest goals of the School of Food Science is to train our next generation of professionals. And we offer a Bachelor of Food Science, a Master's, and we also have an MS online program and a PhD program. So we offer all the 3 different programs within the food science. And Along with the courses we do, the research we do, that type of training we provide, the students also get an unique opportunity to work with the creamery as much as they want to. And also, we do encourage a lot of internships, industry internship. There's actually an internship course as well. And then the food science is the students actively participate in quite a few clubs and team projects. And we also encourage quite a bit of undergraduate research. So that's kind of in a nutshell, what are the things we do for our students, our next generation. And as far as the degree majors, we have 2 degree majors. One is what we call the general food science. And then there is another major or emphasis on fermentation. So those are kind of the 2 areas that we give degrees in for undergraduate. What's our goal as a school? These are the goals that have been there since many years. And I just borrowed these from what we had before. Okay, so I'll just read them out. Provide strong food science-based educational programs. That's our goal. That both in undergraduates or students, but also in extension. And then develop joint programs with businesses and institutions to benefit agriculture. And we also focus on investigating the nutritional and functional properties of food and components, and developing new technologies and products that meet the local markets as well as the international markets. And increase the safety, quality, and value of Pacific Northwest foods, and assist our agricultural community to remain competitive. So this is where we work a lot with the commodity groups across the state to help them with making sure that their outputs are more valued. And a diversification of regional agriculture and more in case of the processed foods, and promote sustainability in both the agriculture and food processing. An example there is we have projects going on looking at the byproducts coming out of the food processing and how those could be further used for value addition. And our history, I actually didn't know a lot of this until a couple of years ago. So our program was established back in the 1960s. It was a program at that point, and then we officially became a department in 1970. And it was a food science department at that time. And back then it made sense to combine the human nutrition department and the food science together. So that's when it became a food science and human nutrition department in 1983. But later in 2007, the faculty decided that was probably better to separate those 2 aspects because nutrition and dietetics goes more deep into, kind of crosses over to the medical field. So they separated that out in 2007. And later in 2008, something unique happened where the School of Food Science at Washington State joined hands with the University of Idaho to become a joint school. And for various reasons at that time that they saw the benefits for. And since 2008 till early this year, we were a joint school. But February of this year, the joint school separated. And due to, again, various reasons, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but at Idaho, they closed the food science department as a separate department and merged it with animal science department. That's what they did at Idaho. And so administratively, our joint school separated, but for Washington State, we remained as a School of Food Science. So currently we are WSU School of Food Science. And one thing I just want to say here is we still work with Idaho as a cooperative program for curriculum that is mainly for undergraduate curriculum. So they teach certain classes, we teach a lot of classes. Our students still can go to Idaho, take the classes, and those will be part of their degree program. So that still exists. So we will continue to collaborate with Idaho Food Science for the foreseeable future. And where and what? So a lot of our facilities are based in Pullman, but we are also across other 2 campuses. We have some facilities in Richland, where that's mainly the V&E program, where we have a couple faculty there who are more focused on V&E. And then in Prosser, we have Faith Kreitzer at the IRAC, who is our faculty, and she does a lot of produce safety. She's located there because of the close proximity to various produce related facilities. Okay, and in Pullman, in the picture here, you see the building picture, the brown building. That's where the food science is housed. It's called the FSHN building. That's what it was called when food science were combined with nutrition. And it's still, we refer to it as FSHN building. And that's where we have all majority of our research and teaching labs. And we also have the food processing pilot plant in that building. And we also have the sensory center that one of our faculty, Carolyn Ross, runs, and that's her program. That's also based in this building. And we have the extrusion laboratory that I manage. And along with that, we also have the creamery and the Ferdinand, which has been a part of food science since the very beginning. There's a huge history there and huge involvement with the food science. And that still exists in terms of one of our faculty, Minto, who works closely with the dairy processing pilot plant. The creamery addresses a lot of the technical issues there. And our students work, there quite a bit. Most of the undergrads go through that. All right. So current areas of strength where we have strengths at this point is food safety and dairy and fermentation. Those are the 3 areas of emphasis that we currently have. And we are trying to grow more in these areas. That's kind of what we would call it as our focus areas at this point. All right, and our faculty, I just put their pictures and names so that you know. So Twee Bernhard, Twee is a clinical assistant professor. She's mainly does teaching, and a lot of what she does is online teaching. She's based in Texas, in Austin, Texas. And she is our graduate. She got a PhD from food science, and later on, we're lucky that she stayed on and helps us with a lot of our teaching. And she also directs the MS Ag program, which is with the food science emphasis, that part of it. That's what she leads. And Faith Kreitzer is based in Prosser. She is our extension specialist for produce safety. And Charles Edwards is a professor in the food science program, and he is our wine microbiologist and wine quality. That's what he does. And Minto is focused on dairy, and Carolyn is our sensory scientist or specialist. Oops. So a few more faculty, Stephanie Smith, who moved on from the youth and family extension to our department. And she does consumer food safety, and she still keeps the same emphasis that she had before. Along with that, the new portion that she has is she has a small teaching appointment as well within the program. And Mei Jun Zhu is a professor. She's our microbiologist, and she also does gut health work on bioactive compounds. And then myself, I do extension in food processing and food safety. But also I do have a research appointment within the program where I focus on the same topics that I do in extension. And these 2 faculty here, Jim and Thomas, they are part of the V&E program, but they're housed in our department. And Thomas is the director of the V&E program, and Jim is associate professor in enology, wine quality work that he does. And they both are based in Richland. So that's our faculty. And along with that, we have staff. These are our staff. And if you notice this here, the first 3 are the department staff. Jody is our student advisor, Jen is the administrative manager, and Frank does a lot of things. He is also an instructor who contributes to our teaching program. And these other staff here, Tanya, Kathy, John, and Bieta, they're all doing individual things. So for example, Tanya works in Majin's program and Kathy works in our extension program. And John actually is the manager for the WSU Creamery. And Bieta is associated with the Carolyn Ross's program. All right, this one I went through briefly. That's our main facilities. And then some examples of research projects that we are doing. We have quite a few projects on food safety, and we have some projects on wine and dairy and snack products or processed food products. What is our main three areas? Like in general, what we're trying to do is improve the food safety and develop healthy and sustainable foods and improving the quality of the foods with fundamental approaches. Okay, in food safety, just so people know who are the people working in this area, these are the folks, Mei-Chun, Faith, Stephanie, Charlie, and myself, working in different aspects of food safety. And then in quality, it's Charlie, myself, Jim, and Carolyn Ross. And in extension, specifically with specific extension appointments or significant extension appointments, it's Faith, Stephanie, and myself, and Jim as well has an extension appointment, works with the wine industry. So overall, we have 9 faculty plus 2 V&E, and out of the 9, 3 have significant extension appointment. And currently we have about 47 undergraduate students in the program and 43 graduate students. What's our goal for these students? We emphasize on creative and critical thinking and try to develop quantitative reasoning for them and scientific information, emphasis on diversity and depth and breadth and integration of learning. That's kind of what we focus in all our courses. All right, and I just want to highlight a little bit about student activities. There's a food science club. We do provide emphasis on this because this is where the students get involved with the industry as well because of their the club point of view. And they go to different company visits. We encourage that a lot. And we bring in our alumni into our meetings so that they can build relationships with our alumni in the industry. And it also helps them to work together as a group on different projects. Here's an example of one of our undergraduate students who graduated, Heidi, she's presenting in the Undergraduate Showcase, Research Showcase. On the left is Frank, who is our instructor as well as the development manager. And we also have the product development and the dairy product evaluation clubs. And what they have been really active. This is where the students get to work on projects and compete in national and international competitions. And our students have historically won many national level competitions. Even in the last couple of years, we have won the first place in international competitions with IFT for product development. We also have the College Bowl. This is where it's sort of like a quiz competition where the students compete in the areas of food science knowledge, technical knowledge, and they compete regionally as well as nationally. So overall, we bring in chemistry, engineering, nutrition and health, microbiology, food safety, and sensory, all of these individual sciences into addressing issues in the food area. That's kind of what we do. So this is our Creamery website. And this is our new food science, School of Food Science website. And that's, I think this was 3 years ago when one of the set of students graduated at that time. Many of them are working in the industry, and a couple of them, I think, are continuing with their PhDs. All right, so now I'm going to jump into extension specifically and try to provide you with information on what we do and what we are currently doing with some of our initiatives.
Girish, before you jump into this section,
yes,
would you mind sharing just a few examples of the research that you're doing and maybe some of the products that students are creating for these competitions?
Absolutely. That's a very good question. So in terms of the research portion, we have projects I would say pretty much with all the commodity commissions. For example, like Faith and Majun are working with the Tree Fruit Commission, looking at their packing process and see how to reduce the microbial loads in fresh apples before it's packaged and sent it to the consumers. So there's a lot of projects in that area. Another example I can provide is for the byproducts that we see in the state of Washington. For example, there's a lot of juice processing that goes on. In the juice processing, there is a byproduct, which is what we call the pumice. And that carries a lot of nutrients, right? So there's quite a bit of fiber and phenolic compounds. So Majun and I work on those byproducts. And what she does is she looks at the bioactive compounds from it and how to extract them and how those are useful in the for the health reasons. And what I do is I take that byproduct and see how we can further process it to make it ideal for incorporation into various food products, including baked goods and things like that. So those are some examples of what the faculty are doing. And what we do is the students get to work with faculty on different projects. Undergraduate students get the experience in the labs. And then many times what they do is they will take some of those ideas and put them into the product development competitions. So one example I'll tell you, there was 2 or 3 years ago, quinoa was, getting a lot of attention, right? So in this picture, actually, you see, let's see if Jessica, I did see her. So here, Jessica here, where I'm pointing to. So she was an undergraduate student at that time, 3 years ago. And she worked with a couple other students, I don't see them in this picture, where she took trying to find new uses for quinoa for the US market. So there was a competition with the American Association of Cereals Chemists, and they won the first prize for finding new use for quinoa. And what they did was they created this product called the Brazilian Delight, where they incorporated quinoa, potato, and cheese, and a few other minor ingredients, but they were looking at local products. So potato was a local product, which is already grown quite a bit in Washington, Idaho. And then quinoa was up and coming. So trying to find new use for this new grain, and they came up with this product, and it was a huge hit. I mean, I got calls from my contacts at AACC. I didn't go to that meeting, but saying how well received that was. So that's an example of what the students, observe and work with the faculty in the program, and how they take that and create new ideas and showcase into the world.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing those.
Sure. Okay. So let me jump into the food safety portion now for extension. So this slide, there's a lot of information here, but let me walk through what are the main things here that I'm trying to showcase. So we have 3 faculty with significant extension appointments in the program. And Stephanie Smith is one of them. And then we have Faith and myself. So between the 3 of us, we cover a lot of different aspects of food safety, right from the point the products or the crops are harvested to the point it gets to the consumer. So that's how we look at the whole cycle. And Faith focuses a lot on the initial part where the crops get harvested, and you look at the fresh packs. She goes into once it's harvested and goes into the commercial packing process. That's where she focuses a lot on. And then from that point, let's say some of that products, some go into fresh packs, some go into processing. So what I do is I focus a lot on the processing part of it. And then Stephanie kind of interacts with both, or overlaps with both the work, because she works with the consumer aspects of it, where you think of folks going to the grocery store and buying stuff there, but also going to the restaurants and eating food at the restaurants. So that interface where the consumer is actually buying the food or eating the food. That's the part that she focuses on. And so this is how we have divided our extension approach. And if you look at these boxes here, that kind of goes into a little bit more detail of what Stephanie does and what Faith does and what I do. And also, just to add a little more information, both Stephanie and Faith are microbiologists, so they are very strong food microbiologists. And my training background, I'm not a microbiologist. I'm more on the processing and engineering. So for me, it's always, I rely on both of them when it comes to microbiological information. So we work together quite a bit on a lot of projects, a lot of our trainings. So if folks have any questions, you can reach to any of us, and we can channel it to the right person and get things addressed. And here are all of us have, it's kind of different because we are in a department, so we are required to have individual programs. That's how you're evaluated. So for that reason, you will see each of us have a different website, which talks about the different programs or activities that we do. But a lot of them overlap, and all three of them are connected. And we also have Twitter and Facebook outlets, and there's these websites up here provide a lot of general information about food safety, and we provide in general common information about food safety. We can also address regulatory questions, and we provide a ton of trainings, right? So that's kind of how we approach our extension. So I'll walk through individual one of them with the 1 or 2 slides. The consumer food safety program, this is what Stephanie heads or leads. And these are the various things that she does. She looks at food preservation and then providing support for the county faculty through the youth and family program. So each one of us has a dotted line or our association with the 3 different extension units that we have, right? So for example, Stephanie works closely with the youth and family, and Faith works closely with the A&R program, and I work closely with the CED program. So that's how each one of us are connected with the extension side of things. Okay. And then with Stephanie also, though, she also has a microbiology service center. So this is where she provides services on microbial testing on food samples. But keep in mind, though, I mean, since with the way we run the extension programs, all of us, we don't get any financial support for running the programs, right? So everything we do generate the funds by providing the service. So there's a service fee we charge on a lot of things, and for the trainings we do, we charge a training fee, because that helps us to manage the program better and also support Kathy as a staff, Kathy Blood, for our extension program. And I also support lab tech, and individually other 2 faculty also support their support staff. And for that reason, most of the extension services we offer, there's a fee associated with. So this is an example food microbiology center that Stephanie runs, and she provides these testing services for a fee. And produce safety program led by Faith Kreitzer. And this is her website. And you can see up here the different items. And I think I'll go to the next slide that kind of tells you what she does. So in terms of produce safety, these are the different aspects of produce safety that she works on. And she provides support to individual companies, but also broader industry groups on various aspects that are related to safety of the fresh produce. And finally, the program that I run or lead within extension, this is where it goes a little bit beyond food safety. I work on food safety, but also work on process technologies and food ingredients and product development. So many times what we do is we work with other faculty as well in other departments like crop and soil sciences or horticulture when it comes to food quality and developing food products along with food safety. So that's where it branches out, not only just food safety, but also into product development and quality assessments. And here you can see a bunch of different trainings that we offer. And we also work with individual companies on developing their food safety plans or assisting them in developing a food safety plan and providing help with validations of their processes. And we also work on process authority work where we help. I can just tell you in this process authority work, every year we evaluate over 300 products, a lot of jams, jellies, and small products, small processors process, and provide test the products for safety and also provide a thermal process for it so that they can use that for using in their regular processing. This again tells you what are the different ways we support individual companies. We help them with process improvements, scale up of their processes, but we also help with actual product development. Or sometimes they will have an issue in their product development, we guide them through that. And then food safety. Just to closing it out, how we are set up, we address everything from harvest, product gets harvested to the point it gets to the plate. We address different aspects, food safety aspect throughout that chain. And then I just wanted to show at the end here, what are some of the new things or current things that are going on and what are some upcoming items. So despite the COVID situation, we have not stopped providing any of those services. The only thing that has been a hindrance due to COVID is sometimes we go onto the facilities to actually look at the issue and address those issues in person. Only that has been a little bit restrictive, but we have been trying to use, we are trying to address that using like the Zoom and other things where we go into their facilities through online and try to address those. So we have been doing that. But also we took the opportunity to write multiple grants in the beginning of this year in March, April, when we had to shut down. The labs were shut down. And I'm happy to say that, we in the extension food safety area, you see here, there's 3 grants that we were able to get. This one here, innovative and supplementary food safety training that I'm leading, and then bridging the gap for HACCP-based curriculum for fresh producers. This is what Faith is leading. And then there's a multi-state initiative that Stephanie is a part of. So all 3 of us were very much involved in trying to get more competitive resources so that, this year, the next 2-3 years, we know that we are into this budget crisis and all the issues we are facing. So we're trying to do the best we can to bring resources so we can continue to help our clientele across the state and the region. So look for, in the coming days and coming months, a lot of highly subsidized trainings. Like example up here, you see there's a standard FSMA preventing controls training. That's what we call the preventing controls for human food, PCHF. This training is typically you go out in the market, you get it for like $650 at the minimum, $650, all the way up to $1,400. We'll be offering that for like $25 or $50 through these grants. So I highly encourage all of you who are listening to reach out to your clientele, the really small processors, the small producers, to tell them to take advantage of this. Many times, we often see we spread the news and it's really meant for the small processors, a lot of these subsidized trainings. And many times they don't tend to take advantage of it. And we cannot restrict only certain people coming in. So we always say, we open up the registrations for small processors first and then bring in the larger processors. But it'll be very important that this group who is in the audience spread the news about these as they come along. And we will continue to do these things despite whatever the situation is. But we do need help and support from the counties and all the regional extension faculty and staff. So the only thing I'll say is, let's keep communicating more and help our clientele as much as we can. Okay. I think with that, I'm going to close this out, my presentation. I'll open it up for questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Girish. I was just going to hop in and ask you a quick question from that last slide to see if any of those programs will be available in Spanish as well, those trainings.
Very good question. Yes, this time we will. So let me share that screen back, and I'll specifically tell you a couple things there. So up here, you will see what are the different types of the trainings we're thinking. So these two are the standard trainings, which, that we have to go through as they are. But down here, the GMPs, which are basic stuff everybody needs, and the basics of sanitation, these two will be offered in both Spanish and English. What we have done is this time we're taking the approach where at least the very basic trainings that everybody needs, all the processor or people who handle food, those we will offer both in Spanish and English. And also, just to go ahead and add further information to this, some of these, especially these short trainings, we are trying to make it such that it's not only a live training. It will be a live training or synchronous training, but some of those we will make them asynchronous and have them available in the future for many years to come. So that's the approach we are taking now within our food safety extension group, where let's also do some of these as asynchronous so people can just keep taking them later.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. You can put them in the chat box or just unmute yourself and ask. And I know we have other folks on the call from WSU as well that I don't know if they work specifically in food science, but if you want to chime in, you're welcome to as well.
I was going to almost pick on either Karen Ullman or Lizanne Powers to potentially add something. For instance, Karen with the WSDA, you guys often collaborate with Girish for some of the FSMA trainings and different things. Is that correct?
Hi. Yeah. I'm trying to find my face here. Yeah, definitely. Coming up are some of the FSMA produce safety rule trainings. Actually just starting to get those going next week. So that's something that WSDA is an example of something that we help to subsidize in collaboration with them. And so we co-present together. Those are going to be virtual this year, of course, but so spread out over 2 days. We were already sold out of the first 3 trainings for that. So go on, sign up. They're pretty low cost, about $25 a person, but they'll be offered throughout the winter. So that's an example of one. With Faith, we're also looking at potentially doing like ag water focused workshop. I'd be curious, we're still in the development of deciding what direction we want to go with for that. One thing is that the water section of the produce rule is still up in the air and on hold from an FDA perspective. So we're trying to be ready to provide content in that as soon as it's available. We still don't know yet, but I'd be curious if anyone in the audience is interested in a workshop more focused on agricultural water, like harvesting, irrigation water, or post-harvest water. Those are 2 directions we're looking at right now. So just needs assessment. If anyone has any thoughts on that, that would be one area. And yeah, we also work with Stephanie and Girish as well on some of these overlapping workshops.
Yeah, I just want to add, like any training we do, I mean, I think I'm saying it for the whole group of food safety within food science. We collaborate, and actually we're lucky to have so many collaborators. This one of the grant that we got for USDA training from the USDA, we got letters from, I think it was like 35 people, 35 entities. Within like a week or two, they all responded. So Karen was one of them. And I remember calling Karen right when everything shut down, everybody was going panic, but they work with us so patiently. Karen is, I mean, sometimes we take it for granted, but thanks, Karen, for always being there for your group and everybody at WSDA to step up and help. So yeah, pretty much everything we do is collaborative trainings, by the way.
And this is Lizanne, and you know, one of the really a luxury we have is the opportunity to attend these trainings at really reasonable prices. And Girish, the one on Tuesday, the basics of safety and sanitation, I think.
Yes.
I mean, they had it for no registration fee. It was all online. And although people doing consumer might feel like that doesn't relate to them, you know, I think the continuum of food safety from consumer to small industry to large industry does relate to a consumer educator, because a lot of times people will say, well, what's industry doing? And so it really helps you to know what industry is doing. The other piece I'll add is the organisms that cause problems are the same organisms, just at different scale. So to understand how that all, you know, that how industry's looking at them, how fresh produce is looking at them, I think is extremely valuable. I jump in anyone I can take. I took Faith's food microbiology, and I need to take it again because I didn't retain it all. But just really interesting because there's a piece you can always take home. The other thing is, the other piece for consumer educators is how they talk about it is always educational. So you learn maybe some different language to use to help a consumer understand a little bit better. So the other plug I'll put in is Girish loves his extrusion processing machine. And if you happen to be in Pullman, he'll be happy to show it to you.
Lizanne, can you
share who you are?
Oh, I'm a county faculty based in Benton and Franklin counties, which is Tri-Cities area. And I do consumer food safety. I do the Master Food Preserver Volunteer Training Program. So train volunteers to help with consumer food safety and food processing. But I also think that gap and that leap into unregulated to regulated is really important for people to understand. The other piece I do is coordinate with Department of Ag Food Processing and Department of Health, which is the retail food processing. So helping in our area with, we call us the three-legged stool, regulatory and educational.
Thank you, Lizanne. I wanted to ask Girish if he could describe a little bit about I think it might be Stephanie's program that does product testing and what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, sure. So if are you referring to the microbiological testing, or are you referring to the?
Yeah, if you're going to make a value-added product, say a salad dressing or something like that, and you want to get it tested, it goes through the WSU testing program, correct?
Yes. Yeah, so that's the program. I'm showing you the screen with the website. Hopefully that's what you're seeing. So this is what the site for that, the product evaluation as we call it. And essentially what this is taking, well, anybody who develops a value-added product that is shelf stable, then we provide, it's like a third-party service or product evaluation where, so the WSDA and the FDA require the processors to go to a process authority, that's what we call, process authority, somebody with the knowledge and experience to look at those things for safety purposes. And specifically in this, what we look at is acidified and acid foods, something that requires not beyond boiling temperature treatment. So such products only, we provide testing, we look at the product, the recipes, and their pH and water activity, some of those qualities that we look at in food safety. And then based on that results, we provide what is the minimum temperature and time that they need to heat the product to for maintaining the safety, and how do you bottle that product. That's kind of what we provide as a service. And this is the product, this is the process. I mean, I lead this, and Stephanie and Faith both help on and off with this. And this is actually was started by my predecessor, Dick Doherty, who kept this service for a very, very long time. And then we continue to provide this service because it is, we call it a essential and highly needed service, even though it's we don't really recover the costs on this, but we still provide the service. And we are trying to actually streamline this a little more. So this coming year with the WSDA Specialty Crop Park Grant, we're trying to put together a proposal to revamp particularly this service to make it more streamlined and provide more resources for the small processors in this area.
Great, thank you.
So I'll just jump in, because we do in the county offices get lots of calls about, I want to sell my salsa. I want to, I take this to market. And they say, we heard we need to call WSU. And who they need, I send them this information. They need to get to this product evaluation as a piece of their process. So I'm glad WSU has continued that and still has that service available for people.
Yeah, it's this is one I noticed when I first came in. It was when Dick was still doing it, and we took it over. We evaluated this quite a bit, and there's some, liability risks associated with it too. So we had to really go through and revamp, per se, if I had to use a word for it. So we changed our letters, we changed quite a bit of information as we used to provide before. So as a simple example, what I can tell you is, like, earlier when Dick was here, he used to write letters which were like, half a page. And we have expanded that now. The letters that go out now for product evaluation are like 2 pages long. And it breaks down clearly into, the ingredients, the regulations, the packaging, every aspect of it. So we have evolved quite a bit, and our intention is to evolve it more and make it more streamlined, and also add more resources to it, so that the small processors, they could literally go to the website and maybe download these short videos of how to test pH, or how to do this, or how to look at a regulation, or how to file FDA filing. So that's what we want to do as we go forward with this service.
Is it typical that a land-grant university provides this service for state, or is it unique for Washington?
About 20 years ago, it was kind of like pretty much all the land-grant systems who had the food science departments, they were offering this. But it has decreased a lot. There is only, I would say, maybe like 10 places across the country where you can get this service in a land-grant system at this point. And it is still decreasing, but luckily I did see a couple places where they had new faculty hired, and they're continuing the work.
Yeah, it's such a valuable resource for Washingtonians. So other questions?
That's why I thought, it's and we cannot, charge a lot, because then, these are small processors. So you really have to look at that too, and enable them to come out of, wherever they are, and try to increase their income rate. And that's what I do currently is I find like Kathy works on it and Tanya works on it. Peter used to work on it. So their salaries, I use other resources to pay their salaries, and this really doesn't do it. But we keep it because it's necessary, and that's why we were trying to figure out maybe we can go to WSD, a specialty crop grant or something else to kind of make this so that we don't spend a lot of time on it, but still we provide the resources. So that's kind of what we are trying to do.
So in some survey work that I've been doing with some team members at the University of Washington on food security, we saw this big increase in people seeking out shelf-stable foods. And I'm wondering if you've seen like a correlating increase in the applications or product evaluation requests that you're getting as well, if people are pivoting to looking at how they can process some of their produce and make it shelf-stable.
I would say we are like this year, it has been consistent what we normally see. We haven't seen a huge uptick. It has been consistent basically, maybe a little bit more, like maybe 5-10% more, but not like a 50% increase or 100% increase. Yeah. And for some reason it has been, I mean, I started doing this particular service where since 2013 when I came in, and every year we pretty much end up evaluating a little over 300 products. It seems to be like that. Some years it does go up, but average, I mean, not even average, the minimum stays around 300.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and also there was a question in the chat box about FSMA, and Nicole answered, and also Laura, I think you put in some information. Just to very broadly to say, add to that information is FSMA is obviously Laura said what it stands for, Food Safety Modernization Act. So to describe it a little more is back in 2016, it went into effect. And before that, the government and the industry and and academia started working on it a few years before that. Essentially, the way I look at it is it's enhancing the existing food safety regulations we had to make it more fit for today's food systems. Over the last 20-30 years, our food supply chain has become so complex, and we have become so innovative. People have become so innovative that they're creating a lot of these new products. So the government had to look at all of those and saw so many issues, so many recalls, and they decided we got to overhaul this regulation, food safety regulation. And that's really, they went into creating this FSMA. And under FSMA, there is 7 rules. So one of the rule is what we call the preventive controls for human food. And that applies to any food processors, majority of the food processors. And there's another rule, the produce safety rule, that applies to the produce or fresh produce. And then there's multiple other rules as well. Like, for example, there's one more called as the Foreign Supplier Verification Program that applies to somebody who's importing the food from another country to make sure that the person who is importing, or the entity who is importing, that person is responsible to make sure that people processing the food outside the country are held to the same standard as we are, right? So the government really looked at, FDA looked at all the supply chain and how the food moves and what are the new issues associated with food. And they just wanted to put checks and balances on it so that the consumer is safe. At the end of the day, our citizens are important. All of us, when we eat the food, we want to make sure we don't die or we don't get sick. So that's why the FSMA came about. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you if we have a couple minutes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Lizanne mentioned about that program that we did this week on Tuesday. I'm sharing the screen here to show you what it was. It was annually we do this workshop called the Food Safety and Sanitation Workshop. It happens in the second week of November in Portland. That's where we organize it at the Sheraton Hotel. It's a 2-day workshop. Think of it as everything associated with food safety is discussed at that location, and everybody comes together who work in food safety from the region, and even across the country, people come together. And we have usually about 450 to 500 people attending it. And we invite over 20 to 25 speakers. So it's not me talking. Actually, I don't even speak anything except organize it and bring in people together, experts. And this year, due to COVID, obviously we couldn't do it in person. So we did it online. And even when we do it in person, we charge as minimum as we can to it for the fee. Usually we are around 250 average. And we provide the lunch and the breakfast. There's a lot goes into it. So this year it was online, and we decided to make it free. Right? And we only had a few sponsors who covered some of our expenses. But if you look at it, the ones in the, I don't know, this light green probably, there were 5 presenters who came in. So for example, Bobby Corrigan, he is the rodent guru or expert in the world. Okay, he came and presented about pest management. And so that applies to everybody, right? I mean, you got to manage pests even at your home. So it was really good. It was a very down to the earth speaker. We were lucky to have him come in. And then you see the second one here, Miriam Barbach, who is the regional director of the FDA in Seattle. She came and provided an update on what's going on from their standpoint, right? In their inspections and the things they're seeing. And Roberta here, the third one, she came in, she is with the Consumer Brands Association. So that's the brand association that works, kind of the interface between the government and the industry. So she talked about the new label regulations that are coming along and what they are seeing due to the pandemic, the shift in the trends. So it was really good to see what the latest data is. And then we always have basics as well. So like here, Don Jones, who is like the sanitation and chemicals guru, he talked about basics of sanitation and cleaning, and that applies to even cottage food, and it applies to everywhere, right? Even at our home cooking. And then this one was Jennifer McIntyre with United Fresh. She came in, that was the last talk on environmental monitoring, right? I mean, we always think of, we cook the product and then it's fine. But what happens later before you package it, we forget a lot of that, right? And she talked a lot about that part of it, where how do you monitor the environment so you don't recontaminate the product. So this is an example of what happened this week, and it was this was free to the people attending, and we had we had over 450 registrations, so we had maxed out our Zoom account limit, and I think we saw about 320 people logged in. And in some cases, what happens is at one location in a conference room, there's a bunch of people sitting as well. So close to 450 is what we saw attending. So that's what Lizanne was mentioning about. So we do this quite a bit, and you can see the example of collaborations and working with both the industry and the government as well.
Also, some of our programs, so my master food preservers for a period of time did food safety monitorings for food banks. We were working with Second Harvest. And so they just, each food bank that gets food from, whatever the national, I can't remember now, but so we had to do a little rodent, look for rodent and everything. And the rodent guy on there was fascinating. He just, I told my husband he has a PhD in rodents, which you wouldn't think, but just fascinating. And I thought, oh, that helped me so much to be able to help my volunteers know a little bit more about, because they're kind of really more food safety oriented from the standpoint of the food product. And when we did those food bank evaluations, we were looking at the environment too. So there's just a lot of information that, even though it's industry focused, it applies to our consumer end of that.
Any other questions, comments? Anyone else want to jump in and share information about food science and food safety?
I don't have any information, but I have a question. So I'm Nancy Derringer, and I'm a director of the 4-H program. And so we're going to be moving into a junior master gardeners focus in many of our areas. So this is going to be a small grower piece. And we do have the curriculum from Texas A&M, but I'm not sure if food safety is addressed in that. So I guess my question is, I mean, how can we make sure that we're practicing all the food safety things that we need to for and teaching kids? And then also, some of them are going to want to market their products. I'm thinking I'm moving into the tribal area here now, the Kalispell tribe. They want to market some of their products. So there's a couple parts there to it. So how do we get this information, I guess, right down at the ground level?
Very good question. So once they, well, even if they consume themselves, right, they're handling the food, they should know about the food safety.
Mm-hmm.
And once it transfers to a selling point, you're selling it to somebody else, then they have to follow the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So the approach, depending on what you're doing, what we could do is reach out to me and with what you have, and I can talk to Stephanie and Faith, and we will figure out what we can get it to you, right? In terms of the information and what you need to consider.
Okay.
And
Great.
sometimes it's easier if we just set up a call and kind of walk through it.
Okay, great.
That
Thank you.
really solves the problem quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with you then. Thanks.
Absolutely. Oh, there's a question in the chat box.
Yep.
So yes, we do. So there is a one email list that we have that Kathy Blood manages, and we shoot everything to that list. And often we also send it to the, like I will send it to the CED list because I'm part of that. And Faith and Stephanie typically forward it on to the groups that they're associated with. That's how we spread the news. That's our typical way to do it. But sometimes also I send it to Laura to send it to the food systems group.
Yep.
So those are the ways we distribute it.
Yeah, we try to forward out all of his announcements through food systems, and then they often come out through the WSDA as well.
So I do have one more question for Girish. Is there any activity or thought of dovetailing food science and human nutrition, at least in a working relationship at WSU?
Yeah, to me personally, I think, they integrate a lot. But the way it is today in our university, so there is a nutrition, what is it called? Nutrition physiology or something like that in Spokane, right? There's a unit. And with this new sustainable, I forget the term for it, that Kevin Murphy is leading.
Sustainable Seed Systems Lab.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
So we are actually trying to build a lot of collaboration between crop and soil and the nutrition physiology faculty in Spokane. And like Frank and a few other folks there. There's like 4 or 5 people. And we are actually building a lot more collaborations now. So May-June and Carolyn Ross, who are our faculty in food science, and myself and Minto, we already have some funded projects going on with that group. So I think I would see in the near future, the food science will probably become more collaborative and more integrated with both the growing aspects of the crops as well as the nutrition piece of it. Yeah, very good point though. That's cool. We need that.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. Some of us came through the WSU system when it was food science and human nutrition. And to me, that was, I mean, I really appreciated, even though nutrition was my focus, to be able to take some food science classes. So, and I think it's really valuable for the community nutrition type people to have that. So that's good to hear.
All right, any other questions?
I wish we could all send everyone some Cougar Gold over the call today.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. Yesterday we had on Tuesday when we had that workshop online where so many people, we always give out raffle prizes of Cougar Gold cheese cans. And so people were texting me on the chat box like, Cougar Gold cheese, I need Cougar Gold cheese.
Well,
So
and what are the other products too? I mean, I know there's honey that's for sale. I think there used to be a pancake mix. Like there are some WSU branded products that come out of food science, correct?
So some come from different, we collaborate with different, so honey comes from entomology department. And then we have the hospitality and business management group. So actually we are building more collaborations with them. They have created the, what do you call them? The chocolates with the stuff in the middle, more tastier. So they got those, and yes, some mixes as well. So I think, hopefully in the future we will do this more. I know the president of the university and Connor's administration as well pushing more on, developing a lot of those things where we can also generate income by providing service. So whether it's form of a product or actual service. So I hope to see more of those. Actually, we're talking, I think Chad Kruger and I are talking next week on looking at some Apple products, because he's in Wenatchee, and we're trying to see what we can do with food science and Wenatchee. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I see the Kathy sent me a message. So there is an email list we do have, and let me see if I can go to it.
I can stop my share too if you want to pull it up.
Okay. This might be something you want to share with people who want to, oh, come on. I got to share the website right there. Okay. On this email down here, it does say, this portion here. So if you shoot a note to Kathy, and she can put you on the list. And we do not send a lot of emails. We only send about the trainings that we do. Once in 3-4 years, there might be one email about our evaluation, but other than that, it'll be only the workshops that we do. So if you're interested, I would send a note to Kathy, and she can put you on the list.
Can you just click on her name and so we can see the email? Oh, there it is, blood@wsu.edu. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, she is good. I don't know what we would do without her, Yeah, she keeps especially me on track with things.
And she has like an original WSU email, not even a first name initial.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity. Thanks, Laura and Nicole, for calling me to come and present about food science and our extension. And also a shout out to all the folks. I think many of you are on the call, and also the different extension county directors who always help us, when we need support letters, and also reaching out to figuring out a venue for us to do trainings and things like that. For everything that you do, thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Girish. It's such a pleasure to have you today, and all of the incredible work that you're doing. And I've always appreciated so much how rooted you are in your extension work, and seeing that now as a director of the school, it's really exciting to see how those programs will continue to evolve and maintain that strength. So thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open it up for other discussion items and time to share. I wanted to give a shout out to any Tilt Alliance folks that are on the call, to congratulate you all for getting through a really successful conference as well.
Thank you,
yeah,
Laura.
yeah,
This is Gwen.
yeah, it was wonderful. So yeah, anything else that people want to bring up?
I'll add one thing onto what you just said, Laura. The TILT conference, we had 350 people actually register, not just looking at the numbers through the day, because you can do that online. Look at who's there, who's not, was interesting, because there were never 350 people on all at once, but throughout the 2 days. But we also had a really good community roundtable where people provided their thoughts about, you know, what do they see as challenges coming up in the next 3 years in the farming and farming community, and what kind of support would they need and want. So have some good input there beyond just the conference stuff.
Yeah, and I know Marcy Ostrom from WSU is able to attend that. I'm wondering if maybe that we could have a future hub once some of that information is summarized.
As we are on this call, I am compiling it. So
Great.
yeah, actually that'd probably be great. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe after the new year we can set that up on the calendar. That would be fabulous.
That sounds great.
Well, before people hop off, I at least want to put in a plug for upcoming hub calls. So we won't have any for the next 2 weeks. Next week, with the CARES Act funds that came through to WSU associated with the rapid response grants for livestock producers, we're going to be filming the fabrication of 3 different hogs at the WSU Meats Lab, to be able to provide educational content for livestock producers and processors in the state. So we're going to have a fun few days of doing that with Paul Kuber and Sarah Smith from WSU Extension. And then the following week is Native American Heritage Day. So we're going to jump back into the hub calls on December 4th with an update from the Southwest Washington Food Hub Group. This includes Mike Peroni from NABC and Stephen Bramwell from WSU Thurston County. And they're going to talk about the food hub processing and grain infrastructure work that's been happening in the South Puget Sound region. And then along that I-5 corridor as you move down towards Portland. And then on December 11th, we are really lucky to have the Northwest Portland Indian Health Board and Northwest Tribal Epidemiology Center, which supports the Northwest Tribal Food Sovereignty Coalition, here to speak about their programs with Nora Frank Buckner and Victoria Warren Mears. So it will be really exciting to hear about their programs and what they've been doing over the last few months. We heard from Nora back in June, where she gave us a small introduction to the Northwest Tribal Food Sovereignty Coalition. So excited to hear what they've been up to. Again, just a reminder that we will be updating our website on a regular basis, and you will see some changes as well. We're going to be doing some bigger website updates than just information. Send us your calendar events and anything else that you think would be useful to the group. And you can also send your speaker ideas to myself or Nicole or anyone else in the office, and we can certainly take them into consideration and see if those folks are available. So before we hop off, I just want to see if there's anything else that anyone wants to share. I see here that Nancy mentioned that they're ordering small hydroponic growing units for a few of the families at the Cowsville tribe. Does anyone have expertise in hydroponics? Any sites that you recommend? So if anyone has that information, Nancy, maybe you can throw your email in the, oh, here we go. Stephanie Smith has a good background.
Started typing and I thought, oh, I could just unmute and say this.
There you
But
go.
Stephanie has, she was actually, I think she put a grant in on hydroponics in schools. So she would be a good contact for that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She is working on that. And there was actually a unit that we had in Everett that was brought back to Pullman. And I don't think it's back up yet, but she was the one who was leading that particular program. And she worked with the WSDA and with the WSDA produce group on a grant and some data. So there was quite a bit of work that she had done. So might be a good point of contact for you.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder to everyone that we did record this session today, and so it is available on our YouTube channel for reference. If you have anyone who missed today's hub and they want to get caught up on this episode, they can find it there. And it's also great to just have it be a future resource. If people have questions about food safety or the program, you can reference it to them. Again, I just really want to thank Girish for being here today, for all the work that your Extension Food Safety and Food Science team does to support the Washington food system, and to all of our food system team members that are on the call, as well as our collaborative partners. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to miss you in the next 2 weeks, but excited to see you on December 4th with our speakers, and wishing you all a healthy 2 weeks ahead.